I am here. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Ambassador Tai. Ambassador, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the Indo-Pacific framework on specific issues. And I have four different areas, and they are some fairly complex. So I hope that you'll feel free to, given that I have 4.5 minutes now, um, take this as a question for the record and have your team get back to me. And I would hope by a set date, so it's not just an unknown obligation to answer. Um, the first has to do with ocean plastic waste. Scientific American has reported that 10 rivers contribute about a quarter of all the ocean plastic waste, and 8 of those rivers are in Asia. So getting agreements to deal with the ocean plastic waste problem in the Indo-Pac framework would seem to me to be a very important priority. That's one. Two is predatory Chinese fishing, which is a problem around the world, but particularly throughout Asia. I traveled extensively throughout Asia with Senator McCain, and in every Asian coastal country that we visited, there was very strong resentment about the way the Chinese fishing fleet, often supported by the Chinese Navy, was treating their sovereign fisheries. I think this is actually an issue that really goes around the world, but particularly in this Indo-Pacific framework, I would be interested in what you're doing on both Chinese predatory fishing practices and more generally pirate fishing, what is called IUU fishing, illegal fishing. So that's two. The third is climate. I'm not sure what you're looking at for climate provisions in the framework, but we're obviously facing a huge crisis, and particularly the sea level impacted areas of the Pacific are going to be crises in the future as they get overwhelmed by sea level rise. And unfortunately, in the not too distant future, it looks like for some of the major cities and even bread baskets like the Delta in Vietnam. And the fourth is anti-kleptocracy. We have just seen played out in Ukraine what happens when fossil fuel funded kleptocrats can run their countries like dictators and destroy other nearby countries, or at least try to, using their military. I think the Biden administration has wisely understood that kleptocracy is actually a national security issue, and that areas in which people hide money and are able to seek rule of law shelter for ill-gotten gains, we've got to clean up that mess. And wherever there's a leak, that's where the crooked kleptocrats' money will go. So it's really important to have agreements across the nations of the world that they will stop providing that kind of sanctuary to crooked, criminal, and corrupt money around the world. So you now have 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer on all of that. So it may be no more than I'll get you an answer by X date on each one, but I offer those four questions to you.
Senator Whitehouse, let me just say a couple words here, and we will get answers to you on the QFR schedule that Senator Wyden sets out. On all of the issues that you have identified, we are interested and intending to cover in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Many of them within the trade pillar. Anti-kleptocracy, I think, if we understand it generally as anti-corruption also, will be in a pillar that Secretary Raimondo is leading. I just want to emphasize that Secretary Raimondo and I have been working hand in glove on this economic framework, as have our teams, and that as we move forward into launch and into the discussions, we will continue that hand in glove partnership with each other, but also want to incorporate all of the priorities that you and other members of this committee have. So I look forward to doing that work with you.
Start strong, because things usually don't get stronger in negotiations. Thanks. My time is up.